Well, welcome to our FY22 budget work session. In charge is Miss Amy Smith. Take it away, Amy.
All right, you've got your notebooks. We'll just start on page 2. What we're going to cover today is the special revenue section of the budget. That includes debt service, SPLOST, federal grants, and school food service. We have a revised classified salary schedule for you. We need to talk about the timeline for budget approval and possibly set our next meeting date. So, flip on to page 3. This is the summary of our special revenue. At this point in time, most of our grants, we do not have final figures for next year. But as we go into July, we cannot spend money if I do not go ahead and present this budget. So we have pulled the information you're going to see is current information for 21. Most grants have indicated we'll get at least as much or more than we have this year. We have in this budget, we have CARES 1, CRISA, which is kind of CARES 2, ARP, which is CARES 3. In this CARES category is just a portion for FY22 of CRISA, CARES 2. CARES 3 is still in the planning stages. We will be back later. I don't know if we'll have done tentative and final approval yet, but we will bring that back when we get to the point where we need a budget approval for that. But on this summary, of course, under debt service, we have nothing planned. We don't plan to borrow any money. Under SPLOST, we should end the year with a fund balance of just over $9 million. I've estimated our revenue a little lower than what our average is now, just out of concern that it may not sustain itself for the next year. The revenue that we think we will for sure collect is $5.4 million.
So you project will end SPLOST fund balance with $9 million at the end of the year?
At least 9.2.
Does that include the payments for the new PJ ag facility?
It will include anything due through the end of June. If it is due or work done through June 30th,
Okay.
they usually get
So
it
probably
to us.
maybe some will be captured, but most will probably be.
It depends on how much they complete by that time. They bill us at the end of each month.
Okay.
And have to sign and swear and attest that it is through June 30. We have to pay that bill in June. So we have kind of a quick turnaround for this one, but I have not gotten the June bill yet. It's not close
So
enough.
it could be more like 7 to 8 million possible.
I don't think we have a big bill coming right now. I talked to Stacy. I don't think we've got a large bill coming right now. So we should safely have at least 9.2, unless something changed.
I was just going off the junior high ag because I thought that was around 2 million.
But it's not going to be completed. We won't be billed for it as far as I know.
Okay.
We just talked about this the other day. He has a payment schedule basically where it estimates how much we should be billed for.
Okay.
So we should have at least, we may have a little more than that, but keep in mind, we'll also receive another month's revenue before the end of June. And we book July revenue, 1 month in July, back to this year. So at the end of it all, we should have at least 9.2. I'm going to get you to just flip on to page 4 so you can see a little more detail as we go into the SPLOST area. Proposed for FY22 under capital outlay, and those are those big construction contracts. Y'all just approved one last week. Stacy and I met and discussed what we think will be done within FY22. There are 2 large contracts that will cross into this year. We're already paying some architect's fees to do the upfront work before. One project we have the GMP, one we do not, and probably won't until maybe November, December-ish. So this is what we think we will spend. If that changes, we'll bring an amendment back to you and have you amend it. But it's for the Pickens Junior High School ag renovation and PHS. I'm calling it ag renovation. There's quite a bit involved. And there's a Tate Elementary renovation repair going on too. So we've asked for $5.5 million. Under M&O, we budget for larger renovations, repairs, modifications, furniture, equipment through maintenance and operations. This year, I believe at this point last week, we had spent or had encumbered about $300,000. So if we don't need it, we don't use it, but we do have to budget it if we think we're going to spend it. Technology, and y'all know for quite a few years now, we have been doing server updates, lab updates, replacement of Chromebooks, and any other technology equipment. Cannot be software, it cannot be a renewable item, but if it is a purchase of true equipment like laptops and Chromebooks, we are allowed to spend that out of SPLOST. We've asked for $1 million. We had asked the same thing this year. Of course, anything that's not spent just stays in SPLOST. We have not, we have spent less than $500,000 this year out of that category. That actually includes some of the VoIP contract. So, but, when we were rolling into COVID, we spent quite a bit of money and had done an amendment, so we could go ahead and get those laptops and Chromebooks out to the kids. But we always have replacement and repair that is covered in this category. Servers, we have a couple servers that are going to come up that are going to age out and need to be replaced. So they run anywhere from $8,000 to $12,000 depending on the server. Under transportation, we purchased buses, but we are also going to ask, Stacy had asked that we replace 3 of our white fleet vehicles. They have quite a bit of age and wear on them. These are the estimates that he gave us. We actually already have the buses ordered, so we're pretty secure in that amount. We did a rough estimate on the 3 white fleet. Do y'all have any questions about SPLOST? And just to remind you too, any large contract that comes through, if it's $100,000 or more, must come to the board for approval. So any project that gets to that size, you will see specifically what the GMP will be and have to approve that. And that's in general fund or SPLOST. Just so you know, y'all do have oversight on that in addition to a general budget on this area. I'm going to flip back one page to page 3. The grants on the summary sheet include Title I, CARES, CRISA ART, special education flow-through, and federal pre-K. Perkins program grants, there are 2 and a third one that comes later in the year if we're eligible. Title II, Title IV, we work with GLRS, they work on our site, and so we're their fiscal agents, so they must run through us. Right from the start is the pre-K program that's out at Hill City. And it's in addition to a federal and state pre-K grant. They are their own program. But we must budget all these items. At this time, other than the CARES CRISA item, these are proposed. We do not have final numbers on any of the other grants at this time. As we proceed and get final numbers, it has been indicated most federal programs we won't receive until well into July. So in order for us to be functional, we do have a few 12-month people that come out of some of these monies. We go ahead and put this out there as it is approved this year, so you know what we're doing and have an idea how we spend the money. I have the detail as it is now from page 6 to page 13 of each of these grants as they are approved by the state at this time. On page 14 is our school food service budget. I'm always going to brag on them. They are self-sufficient. They produce their own revenue and keep their expenditures within their budget. They will more than likely leave this year with about $1.3 million in the bank in their fund balance. That has increased. Part of the reason for that is the free meal programs that have been running. We have been notified we'll be still doing free meals next year. So as you see some revenue numbers that are quite a bit different than they have been in the past, that's why. The sources that when you get the free meals, it comes in federal instead of a local or state category. So that's why those numbers have changed quite a bit. Then it's her operating budget, which of course includes her staff. That's food service workers, assistant managers. The food service director is paid out of this category along with her secretary. They get some additional clerical help to process the free and reduced applications at the beginning of the year because there's a hard deadline when those are due, and when all 4,000 kids come back, it's kind of hard to get them all processed without a little bit of help.
But will they even be doing free and reduced?
We still have to do paperwork.
Really? even though everybody's gonna get the free meal?
I believe we did last year, and I think we have to again. And I can check with Beth and make sure.
Oh, that's
But
all right, I was just.
They still make us do a lot of the things, even though we may be getting some funds toward it, but we still have to document quite a bit of information when it comes to federal.
Okay.
Is that the same stuff that ties to E-rate?
Yes,
That's another reason why I think
Yes.
we need to get those filled out, because we get that funding based off of eligibility of your
Free-
students in need versus, you get more money that you can use kind of one time.
and not just with E-rate, with some of the other federal grants, your allotment, if you're eligible, maybe a portion of it may be based on your free and reduced population. And what's bad is when they don't have to turn it in to get free meals, sometimes people don't. That does hurt us because it might lower our rate and therefore we might not qualify for a grant. But even our, most of, I won't say most, some of our federal entitlements do, a part of it is free and reduced. There is, that's how we're identified and earn funds.
So I think it would be important then for the public to know, for all of the parents to know, that even though all of the students are getting free lunches this coming year, it's important for us, paperwork-wise and money-wise, if they will still fill out their free and reduced paperwork.
And school food, they do a very good job. They get on the phone and call, they email,
Okay.
they send flyers home. They actually did a kind of a small campaign last year
Okay.
to help make that known to the public, that even though it's free, we still need you to fill out the application
Okay.
because it does help us in the long run with other issues.
Okay, parents help us out.
Okay, with special revenue, now this, like I said, this one's kind of short and sweet because since we don't have exact budgets on these, we will typically move ahead with normal items that we've done each year. When we come back with real numbers, you'll get the specifics on exactly what we'll be spending. I usually just put it, when we put it in the consolidated application, which is Georgia Department of Education's method for collecting the budget, you have to define and describe what we are asking for, and that's what I actually pull that information out of the state portal so y'all can see it. The budgets you're seeing in here, all the detail is as they are currently approved. If it had a name, I removed the name. I cleaned up a little bit if it's something that we need, didn't need to splash a name out there, but you get the gist of the idea of what we use the funds for. Do y'all have questions about those grants or food or SPLOST? Telling y'all, this one's quick. It's a large category. All total revenue is a little over $12 million. Expense is approaching $15 million. That is from SPLOST. We probably will not have as much revenue coming in this year as we have going out, but we do have that nice fund balance over $9 million that we can rely on for that. Everything's still within what the referendum says we can do. We will again this year, in the early fall, we will have another SPLOST audit as we are required to do. If you collect more than $5 million in revenue through SPLOST, you must have an additional audit, and it has to be an independent auditor, as we did last year. So we will do that again this year. Y'all have any questions about that?
I mean, is that something, once you went through those audits, it is much easier going forward, kind of what they expect, so they go a little better normally after that, or a little quicker probably.
Probably when we did the one last fall, we were having to do everything digitally, and we had so many open construction contracts over the time. They were looking at FY20. It was thousands of pages that we had to scan because we weren't used to it. As we've gone through 21, we have already been preparing and scanning those documents as we go, so when it comes time, we won't have to spend a week with 3 or 4 of us scanning everything. We're doing it as we go.
Well, I was thinking that was a little bit new to us, because we haven't always taken in over 5 million
Right.
in SPLOST per year, so.
It will be a lot easier, I think, this time, but the company we used was Malden & Jenkins, and they actually sent documents explaining what to do. We dropped it in a secure file. They can access it. If they need to ask something, everything is through that secure file. They can email you, they can tag items. It went really well considering we've never worked with them before. But what they do is they look to see if everything we spend money on meets the terms of the referendum language. So audit looks at how we process it. That audit, they look at what we spend it for. So it's a little different view of the audit, but it's good. That we had no problems with one last year either. It went, they gave us a time frame, we had everything uploaded. They asked for a few other things, we uploaded them. And again, now we know exactly what they're looking for. When they may call it one thing and we may call it something a little different. So now we know what they want. It'll go much smoother this time. But it went very well last time. I think it took them about a week and a half from the time they started. We had results within a couple of weeks after they wrote it up. And like I said, it went very well. Had no issues. So. All right, so let's see. Let's hop to page 15. We had discussed last time bonuses for contracted services personnel, and y'all had asked for some additional information. We have discussed the employees at ABM. There are 31 employees as of 4/14 of 21, 17 at ESS, and then we had about 20 individual contracts. So we evaluated those 20 individual contracts. Not one of them works more than an average of 30 hours a week. And that's during work time. We're not counting summers and holidays. So y'all wanted to know if anybody else was truly full-time. Somebody mentioned 30 hours or more. We have one that's about 30. The rest of them are below. So if you would like to pay a bonus and you want it to be full-time, we can negate those. That means we don't have to amend those contracts and do anything with them. ABM and ESS, if we choose to pay them, we do have to amend the contract. They are aware that we're looking at this. It appears they could turn it around within a week to 2 weeks. So I just need to know. I've calculated it with all of it in there. If we did 1,000 or 500, but of course without the 20 individual contracts for a $500 bonus, it would reduce it to $25,530. And for the $1,000 bonus, it would reduce it by $20,000, so that would be $51,060.
Thank you for getting all that, and I like that we're consistent from the 4/14 date, like we said, with everybody else and all that type of stuff. My view, everybody knows I really want us to try and be able to do that. I just think it's fair. I think, they're not our direct employees. They have a direct interest in our kids, and we're invested in them. They're serving our kids, they're serving our staff, they're serving our schools. So I'd like us to be able to do the $1,000 bonus. I don't think it's that too costly. My view would be that we kind of stick with what we said of the 30-hour full-time threshold. I don't think those others who are, as you said, significantly under, I don't think they should.
We had quite a few that are less than 9 hours a week.
Yeah, I don't think that should apply to them.
So just for clarity, so anyone over 30, because I have one that's sitting right at 30, just for clarity's sake. So if they're over 30.
I think we said the 30-hour threshold.
30, okay.
If you have one that meets that threshold, I would have no problem with that.
Close.
Yeah.
It's really close.
I would say 30 or over.
I would.
30 or over.
What are y'all's thoughts? I mean, I guess you need a decision from us, somewhat, or a winking decision.
It is not currently in the FY22 proposed budget, so if it is something that we need to include, I would need to add it to the budget.
Let's go ahead and add that in.
Okay. All right, so we'll add this.
And add the 1,000.
That's what I.
1,000. Yeah.
At 1,000, okay.
Which would be
So it would actually be like 50,000.
51,060, is that what you said?
Right. That one, I will say, we do not have all the final billings for all the contracted people. We did everything that we had through believe we calculated week before last, so we have paid last week and this week, or we will be paying this week. So I will go back and make sure we're complete for the year before we do anything.
I will add in one more thing that it's not worth holding the whole process up, and I'd like us to get this going because they've already had to wait a little while to get theirs compared to what everybody else did. But if anybody still does want to mention to ESS that the board doesn't really appreciate your 18% upcharge, I would be okay with that as well.
We can take care of that.
That's my view, my opinion.
Okay.
Now, do we want them to hold that 18% out of the 1,000?
I would.
I don't think we need to penalize.
No,
That'll
no.
make the payment about $860.
Yeah, no, I don't, no, we don't.
We don't need to penalize the employee.
No.
It's not fair.
Well, I will add that to our general fund.
Doesn't that seem very?
That's fine.
On page 16,
No,
I'm sorry?
I don't like the 18%, but I don't want to take it out of
No,
employees.
yeah, I don't either.
we can broach it with them and see if they'll work with us.
That'd be great.
Negotiate, yeah.
Yeah, just let them know that's something they really want to do, and we should be able to do it for less than 18%.
Yeah.
I will be happy to take care of that.
I think
Thank you.
PayPal's 1.2 or 2%, and I'd be okay with that. so.
Yeah, exactly. We'll put
And-
them on.
And the way it will work is we will actually amend the contract that we currently have in place at the time that we're going to pay this with ABM and ESS. It will need to be approved by the board.
Okay.
So I will have to bring that back here before we can pay it. And in that, it will define whatever the terms are in the amendments, but we'll get approval, and then they will actually invoice us, we'll pay them, and they'll pay the employee or the personnel.
Great. Thank you.
Appreciate your help.
No problem. Okay, on page 16, I wanted to just share with you kind of the budget approval timeline, what has to happen from here. Y'all approved superintendent's contract earlier, so I can fill those holes in. We do have a few things. There were a couple of approvals at last week's meeting, moving somebody from 11 to 12 months. We have a little bit of tweaking to do. And actually, I did want to bring to your attention, under salary information, we have tweaked the classified salary schedule. We went back to each department one more time and said, look, here are your people's names, here's what they will get, go through this. And we did make a few changes to it. In fact, we made it better. It's not really going to cost us any more money, but we were able to get people positioned a little better by the department head or the chief or whoever's over that area. We really wanted input from those people when it came to their staff. So we did spiff it up a little bit. I think actually it helps more people. We actually eliminated the lowest column. So the A is the lowest column that we'll pay. It had a lot to do with food service. They were on that bottom tier. She did not like that and was able to calculate and afford to do a little more of an increase for her staff. So we eliminated that bottom one, but we did wind up adding another one kind of in the middle somewhere just to get things to work like they should. But I think all the departments are pretty pleased with it. They're excited for their employees. Our staff, I think they all deserve it. I think, I can say the ones I work with, they work hard. They're here, they're 150% every day, and we really appreciate the help, and they keep me sane. But I think everybody deserves it, and it's a good thing. It's already worked in the budget. I am going to go through as I make a few little adjustments. Like I had an email right before I came in here today asking for $1,200 for a training thing that we're going to try to accommodate, but we do still have people doing the I forgot about. So we'll get, it's really, most of it is just really small stuff, but I go through and do another really good check to make sure everything looks good. But we'll be to the point where if y'all are ready, we could at the next meeting bring the budget as a whole, where I actually take it from this format into that one-page state required sheet. And we could possibly do a tentative budget. But I wanted y'all to know the whole process here. It's gotten a little more complicated than it used to be a couple of years ago, but we have to do 2 public hearings. Now, before you do a final adoption, you have to conduct both public hearings, but you can do a tentative budget approval in the mix of doing the budget hearings. So 2 public hearings where you discuss the budget, and that means it has to be complete, and you receive public input if anyone comes to speak. They can be before or after the adoption of the tentative budget, as long as 2 public meetings are held prior to the adoption of the final budget. When we say final budget, we also refer to it as initial budget. So at state terms, I just have to go with this. This verbiage on this piece of paper is actually out of the financial management manual that we use from the state. I copied and pasted a lot of this and cleaned up a little bit of it when they were talking about examples that were on the other pages. But this is this is our direction, this is our guide. So, but I wanted you to see all of it. The 2 public meetings cannot be held within the same week and are required to be advertised in the local legal organ. Well, that's the newspaper. So that means I have to be able to advertise it, get the ad in and have it run prior to us having a public hearing. So I have to have a little bit of notice to get that taken care of. Then the next public meeting has to be at least a week out from the first one. You can do tentative budget adoption at one of those meetings if you choose. We publish the tentative budget in the newspaper. The digest will run into this too at some point, depends on when we get it. And we have some requirements to post it on our website. We have a requirement to run it in the newspaper for 2 weeks. But I kind of wanted y'all to see, you can't just really quickly do something because there's an advertising requirement. Some things are website only. Some things require the newspaper, which takes me a little more time. So if you think y'all might be ready to entertain a tentative budget at the next meeting, are we ready for that?
I'm fine with it.
As in the regular meeting?
You can choose to do it at whatever point. If you, we still have to advertise the day, the time, and the location. If you don't do it at a regular meeting, but we typically say that anyway, we announce all of it. Doesn't matter what kind of meeting. Certain things you only have to put if it's a called meeting, but we do it for all of them, just so.
I'm fine with that. I mean, you'll be able to get us everything you're going to plug in and before we do that.
I don't have anything. The biggest thing is this, bonuses. Nothing else that I have received so far is more than maybe taking that 11-month person to a 12-month. That's probably the largest item I have right now. I have like one for $1,200. I want to check a couple of things. We had a couple of changes in what we're allowed to do and not allowed to do with a couple of things. I just want to make sure we're covered. But
That's fine with me.
I'm perfectly fine with it. I'm ready to go if you want.
do you want to do this at the regular board meeting in July?
I'd be fine with that.
Okay.
If everybody agrees to that, if everybody wants to go ahead
Is
and
it
go.
the one that has to be separate, or can it be during that meeting?
This can be during the meeting. It can be during a regular meeting or a call meeting. They just have to be a week apart, and you have to advertise them.
Okay.
Which means I have to know usually at least a week ahead of time to get it advertised.
So that would be July 8th then?
Okay, so July 8th.
That's right.
So we can include it in the agenda for the regular meeting.
Somebody
I'm
else
fine with it.
What I can do is any changes that we make, I can email them out to you. Let's see, the 8th. Would it be okay if I email them out with either on July 2nd, when we do our posting, when we upload everything to eBoard for the board packet? Is that enough time?
Oh, that's plenty of time.
And if y'all have any questions, call me. But I can actually do a short list of any of the changes, and then we'll plug it in.
That's fine.
On that one-page sheet this time, again, you'll have Fund 100, General Fund, Fund 150, that consolidation of funds. We're getting that in at the beginning this time. We split out special revenue, capital outlay, and debt service. So it'll be just like what you see, the one-page thing, but I'll provide y'all more information. If you want to meet again, sometime in between, let me know if you want to see this all right.
Would we start public hearings in the
You can, if you would like, you have to be finished with the budget for the most part before you do the public hearing. So if we're going to do tentative approval, you can do a public hearing that day. You can do them sequentially, actually. But again, I have to announce it. If it's a regular meeting, you're supposed to just be able to put it on the agenda, but I typically try to put something out with the date and the time just so people know it's a public hearing.
So we should maybe do that another day after July 8th.
Now, we'll have to do it twice. So you
Right.
can do, if you want to do one at the regular meeting, and then you'll do a second one
The
later.
only problem with the regular meeting is because we'd have a meeting at 5, we'd have a meeting, can we do it during the 5 o'clock call meeting?
It's wherever you put it on the agenda, but that, we have to we need to announce it if it's a call meeting,
So it
absolutely.
doesn't have to be separate from the regular. I had it in my head it did for some reason.
No, not this one. We've done it during the regular meeting before. And it's just what it is, you have to open the floor to comment, public comment.
Right.
And we can talk about it, we can talk about the budget and let people decide if they want to make a comment, but you just have to open the floor to comment.
Yeah, we've got 2 clear weeks between today and, actually, it's 3 weeks. The board meeting is 3 weeks from today. 3, so we could put one of those meetings at least. No?
I'm not in town.
Okay, that's fair. I'm sorry.
I'm going to be out of town in that.
I forgot you had to be
Yeah.
out of town, yes.
But now what we could do is do one at the regular meeting, wait a week or 2 weeks, however long you would like to, because we have a spending resolution in place, so we're covered for the month of July. If then you want to do the second public hearing, and at one or the other, do a
That's right,
tentative
that's
budget.
right. We literally just had it as an action item.
Yes.
And you literally just say, does anyone have any public comment on the proposed budget? Well, that's right, we can do it
Would
that
you
way.
like to do one
That's easy, we might as well do one July 8th.
Okay.
Do one on July 8th and then we'll do 15th.
It has to be at least a week. I would just make sure it's at least a week.
Would you rather maybe make it Monday the 19th, just to
Oh.
give a little more cushion?
That just protects us a little bit, so.
And if we're gonna do one on the 19th, let's give everybody plenty of opportunity to get in work. We have to attend and schedule for Sunday 6 or 6:30.
Okay, we can do that.
way.
What do y'all say?
July 19th would be Monday, and then make it, say, at 6:30?
It's good.
Well, I'd just give more people an
Sure.
opportunity to get in for
You said the 19th? Is that Monday the 19th?
Well, actually, I'll do
the
I was
19th.
gonna say, can we do 6? That's my revival week.
Okay, you want to do it 6
Can
o'clock?
we do 6?
I mean, 6 is fine.
6, 5? Give me just one more time.
Well, it might be somebody else's
Sure.
revival
Third week
too.
of July.
Yeah.
Okay, 6 o'clock
19th, 6
then.
o'clock.
Okay,
Will
6
be
o'clock.
the second one.
Yeah, the second one,
Yeah.
6 o'clock on Monday the 19th.
That will work good.
All right, so July 8th, we'll do public hearing July 8th during the regular meeting, and we'll do a public hearing July 19th at 6 o'clock. When do you want to entertain a tentative budget approval?
Thought we said July 8th.
Okay, I just want to confirm,
I was
make sure.
Yeah, that's fine with me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then I'll have your information out to you the week before on
And then
the 2nd.
it'd be nice if we could approve sometime in July, that way you wouldn't have to do a spending resolution.
Spending resolutions, I typically, what I would do at this point, just to cover us, is I would ask for one to be on the agenda in July for August. And if we approve something before the end of July, that's great. We're double covered, but I'd like to at least make sure that we are covered for the next month.
I'd have them ready, just so we're, as an insurance policy.
Yep.
That was my late great uncle, he was in his late 90s, he had a walker. He could still navigate the steps and everything, he had that walker. He said, I don't need this, it's just an insurance policy.
That's right.
Okay, 6 o'clock, Monday the 19th. Is there any other meeting we need to schedule?
We will, wait and, if you want to, and we can set the date for the final adoption once we get through this and make sure there are no changes. Now, one thing I do want you to see, and this is something that we have discovered is new, and it says revised budget. During the time when we do the tentative approval, we have to run an ad for 2 weeks in the newspaper. When we do that, if during that time you receive input that causes you to need to revise the budget, you have the right to before you go into final approval without having to do another tentative budget approval. But you must come into the meeting and explain what you changed. Whether it's a grant or general fund, whatever made the change happen, you have to explain in public what the change was. So that is an option if something were to come up, if a change came through that we needed to address. Hopefully, we won't. Every now and then we will have something come up. So we've had revenue increase significantly that we reapproved the tentative budget because we just wanted to be transparent with it. So you do have that option, and then we'll do final adoption. And then once the final adoption happens, we have to post the tentative budget on the website. Then we put the initial budget on the website. We have to submit to Georgia Department of Education, and they have to approve it. So even though y'all approve it, they have to approve it too. And they like a lot more detail. So just to go through the process. Y'all have any questions?
Well, you had made the statement that our staff certainly deserve the pay raises that our scale or our schedule is reflecting. And I want to say again, we've said it before, other board members have it. I just want to say again, they deserve every penny they get. They've worked so hard, and we are so appreciative. And I appreciate Mr. Young's leadership on this. He was our point man. He was the one that took the leadership on this and wanted to make sure that everyone was covered, and I appreciate that so much. I really do. Can't say enough how grateful we are for the work that they do.
Yes, I absolutely agree. And do y'all have any other questions? Like I said, this one was a little shorter than the last one. If y'all have questions about general fund, if you have questions about any of the grants, anything, please email me, call me, something, information to Tony. I'll be happy to answer anything. I want to make sure y'all are good with what we have presented before we get to the approval process so that it goes seamlessly. And that's all I have.
Thank you for all your hard work.
Amy's done an awesome job with this budget.
I'm glad this one has kind of come together.
It's come a long way
It
since
has.
we first started talking.
Oh my goodness, yes.
All right. Thank you so much for your attendance and all that. I think I'm going to go out and smoke a cigarette.
You want one of mine, or did you bring your own? I'll bring you a cigar to the next. No,
You double dog dare me?
I'll bring that nice sweet mouth cigar.
All right. Thank you so much. 2:10, the meeting is adjourned.
Awesome.
Enough.